I watched my wife's secret lover stroll confidently into my home, completely unaware of the trap I had meticulously prepared just outside the door. Mark began, his voice low and steady, yet charged with tension. He leaned back in his chair, his gaze fixed, as though replaying a vivid memory. You know, we all thought Liam and Elena were the perfect couple. I mean, they had it all. Liam had the charm, the career, managing luxury hotels in Milan. And Elena? She was stunning, worked at a high-end art gallery, and had this effortless elegance. People used to look at them and think, that's what love looks like. Even I thought so. Mark paused for a moment, as if weighing his words. But things aren't always what they seem, he continued. Liam told me that in the beginning, their life together felt like a dream. They'd spend weekends in Tuscany, sipping wine in private villas, sharing intimate dinners that seemed straight out of a movie. And Elena, she wasn't just beautiful. She had this energy, this magnetic aura. When she walked into a room, it was like the air changed. Everyone noticed her. But then, something shifted. At first, Liam couldn't quite put his finger on it. Little things began to feel off. Elena, who once gave him her undivided attention, started spending more time on her phone, even during their dinners. Her job, which she'd always been passionate about, suddenly became an all-consuming priority. Liam had this gut feeling, an inexplicable sense that something wasn't right, but he dismissed it, chalking it up to the stress of her demanding career. He told himself he was overthinking, that he was being paranoid, but deep down he knew better. Mark leaned forward, lowering his voice as though sharing a secret. It all started with something so small, so seemingly insignificant, a crumpled receipt in a coat pocket. One rainy evening, Elena came home late. She looked tired, gave Liam a quick kiss on the cheek, and went straight upstairs. It seemed like a normal night. Liam, being the neat freak he is, decided to hang up her coat. That's when he felt it. A small, crumpled piece of paper tucked into the pocket. At first, he thought it was nothing, maybe a receipt for coffee or groceries. But curiosity got the better of him. Mark's expression darkened. It wasn't just any receipt. It was from a boutique hotel downtown. The date on it? 3 nights ago. The same night Elena had told him she was working late. Liam said his heart sank so fast it felt like it had been yanked out of his chest. He stood there, staring at the receipt, his mind racing with questions. Who was she with? Why a hotel? He said it felt like the walls of their home. This life they'd built together were closing in around him. But he didn't confront her. Not yet. Liam isn't the type to act impulsively. He knew one receipt wasn't enough to confirm what he dreaded might be true. Over the next few days, Liam began to pay closer attention. He noticed how Elena was always glued to her phone, her responses to his questions about her day becoming more vague. The late-night gallery events she frequently mentioned started to feel like excuses. It was as if a veil had been lifted, and Liam was finally seeing things clearly. But he needed proof. A few days later, after Elena left for work, Liam sat at her desk and opened her laptop. He told me his hands were trembling. He didn't want to find anything, but deep down he already knew he would. At first, it was all mundane. Emails about art appraisals, exhibition plans, the usual gallery correspondence. But then, he saw it. A thread of emails with someone named Victor. The name didn't mean anything to him at first, and the messages seemed harmless, discussing an upcoming exhibit. For a moment, Liam thought he was just being paranoid. But the deeper he scrolled, the more personal the emails became. Victor wrote things like, "Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you." Liam told me he felt like the ground beneath him had disappeared. And then he saw Elena's reply, "Me too. Can't wait until Friday." That was it. That was the moment everything fell apart for him. The woman he loved, the life they'd built. It was all a lie. But Liam didn't explode. No shouting, no confrontation. He closed the laptop, sat there in silence, and began to plan. He told me later that he realized in that moment that he couldn't act on raw emotion. He needed to know everything. The betrayal had changed him. He started watching her, listening to her every word, analyzing her every move, every smile. Every affectionate gesture felt hollow, like a performance. The love they once shared had been replaced by doubt and cold calculation. And that's when Liam decided he wasn't going to let this break him. He was going to get to the bottom of it, no matter what it took. Mark's voice trailed off, his expression unreadable as though lost in thought. Then he leaned back, his tone colder now. Betrayal does that to a person. It doesn't just hurt, it changes you. Aaron believed he knew Maya better than anyone. She was a woman he loved, his partner, the person he had built his life around. But over time, little things began to change. Maya seemed distant, distracted, as if her mind was somewhere else. She smiled less, avoided certain conversations, and her phone was always locked or turned face down. Aaron couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that the woman he thought he knew was hiding something from him. It wasn't just a small secret. It felt big, life-altering. Rather than succumbing to doubt and despair, Aaron made a choice. He wasn't the type to sit around and let suspicion eat away at him. He decided to find the truth, no matter how painful it might be. One morning, after Maya had left for work, Aaron sat in the quiet of their home and stared at her laptop. The temptation to open it had been gnawing at him for days. His hands shook as he lifted the lid and typed in the password. At first, there was nothing unusual. Work emails, notes about upcoming art exhibits, and mundane schedules. It all seemed innocent, almost boring. But then he found an email thread between Maya and a man named Kabir. The conversation began formally, discussing art exhibits and gallery logistics. But as Aaron scrolled further, the tone shifted drastically. Kabir's words became personal, intimate. One email read, "Last night was unforgettable. I can't wait to see you again." Maya's reply chilled Aaron to his core. Me too. Same time Friday. It felt like the ground had disappeared beneath him. His chest tightened as the reality of the situation began to sink in. But Aaron didn't lose his composure. Instead of confronting her then and there, he resolved to gather all the facts first. He wasn't going to let emotion dictate his actions. Aaron hired a private investigator to learn more about Kabir. The information he received was even more shocking than he'd imagined. Kabir wasn't just a random man Maya had met. He was married, a father of two, and a high-powered corporate lawyer living in Amsterdam. This wasn't just infidelity. It was a web of lies that extended far beyond their marriage. Weeks passed as Aaron meticulously collected evidence. He compiled emails, receipts, and photographs, ensuring he had an airtight case. He didn't just want the truth. He wanted to confront Maya with irrefutable proof. One weekend, Aaron told Maya he would be traveling to Madrid for work. Her reaction was almost indifferent. If anything, she seemed relieved, as though she couldn't wait for him to leave. Aaron played his part perfectly, kissed her goodbye, and left with his suitcase. But instead of heading to the airport, he parked his car a few blocks away and waited. By evening, a sleek car pulled into the driveway. Aaron watched as Kabir stepped out, holding a bouquet of flowers. He walked into the house with an air of confidence, as though he belonged there. Aaron's blood boiled, but he waited. He wanted them to feel safe, to let their guard down. After an hour, Aaron entered the house quietly. In the living room, Maya and Kabir were sitting together, sipping wine and laughing. They didn't notice him at first. When they finally looked up, their expressions were priceless. Maya's face turned ashen, and Kabir looked like he wanted to disappear. Aaron didn't yell or make a scene. He simply placed a folder on the coffee table. Inside was every piece of evidence he had gathered, emails, hotel receipts, and photographs. His voice was steady as he said, "Explain this." Maya burst into tears, claiming it wasn't what it looked like. She begged for forgiveness, saying she felt lonely and had made a mistake. Aaron's response was cold and deliberate. "You didn't feel lonely. when you were sneaking around with him. Don't act like this was an accident. Asterisk. Kabir, meanwhile, tried to make a hasty exit. He muttered something about leaving, but Aaron blocked the door. Not so fast, he said. Asterisk, you're just as guilty as she is. Asterisk, Kabir stammered, unable to meet Aaron's gaze, before finally bolting out the door like a coward. Maya continued to plead, claiming she still loved Aaron and that the affair meant nothing. But her words fell on deaf ears. Aaron had made up his mind. The betrayal was too deep, too deliberate. The following week, Aaron filed for divorce. He presented the court with all the evidence, leaving Maya with no defense. She lost her claim to the house, most of their savings, and even her friends turned their backs on her once the truth came out. But Aaron didn't stop there. He ensured that Kabir's wife learned everything. He sent her a package containing the same evidence, including details of the affair. Within weeks, Kabir's marriage unraveled and word spread at his firm. His reputation was shattered, both personally and professionally. For Aaron, this wasn't about revenge. It was about justice and reclaiming his sense of self. Yet, amidst the chaos, he found moments of reflection. While packing up the house, he discovered old letters Maya had written but never sent. In them, she confessed her insecurities and guilt, claiming she had always loved him. For a brief moment, Aaron felt a pang of sadness, mourning the life they could have had. But he knew that no amount of regret could erase what had been done. Now, Aaron has started a new chapter of his life. He moved to Florence, seeking a fresh start far from the shadows of his past. Reflecting on the experience, he said, Asterisk, betrayal doesn't just break you. It forces you to let go of illusions and find strength in the truth. Asterisk, Aaron emerged from the ordeal stronger, wiser, and free to rebuild his life on his own terms.